This is Michael Cowen, and welcome to Trial Lawyer Nation.
You are the leader in the courtroom, and you want the jury to be looking to you for the answers.
When you figure out your theory, never deviate.
You want the facts to be consistent, complete, incredible.
The defense has no problem running out the clock. Delay is the friend of the defense.
It's tough to grow a firm by trying to hold on and micromanage.
You've got to front load a simple structure for jurors to be able to hold on to.
What types of creative things can we do as lawyers, even though we don't have a trial setting?
Whatever you've got to do to make it real, you've got to do to make it real. But the person who needs convincing is you.
Welcome to the award-winning podcast Trial Lawyer Nation, your source to win bigger verdicts, get more cases, and manage your law firm. And now, here's your host, noteworthy author, sought-after speaker, and renowned trial lawyer, Michael Cowen.
Today on Trial Lawyer Nation, I am joined by a good friend and a great lawyer, Darryl Isaacs. You may know him as the Hammer. How are you doing today, Darryl?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. And before we jump in, as always, we want to thank our friends here at Law Pods. We're here at Trial Lawyers University in Las Vegas, and we're actually here with them live, which is really nice. I usually see them over the internet, but we have Rob and Juliana here, and it's so nice to work with them. They make our lives so easy. And so if you're going to do a podcast, which is a lot of fun to do, I highly recommend Law Pods.
All right.
So Darryl, tell us a little bit about you. A lot of people know who you are, but maybe not all of our listeners know who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my practice is in Kentucky and Indiana and Littleton, Ohio. I've been practicing 30 plus years. My father and I started the firm. He has since passed. And I'm hoping to carry it on for a little bit longer and then pass it to my children.
That's awesome. And how big of a firm do you have?
About 140 people, but 30 plus lawyers.
So small firm.
Small firm. Small firm.
And you've got the nickname, the Hammer. How'd you come up with that?
So years prior, I started using it. I was the heavy hitter, and I left the agency that I was working with. And, I didn't want a big battle. I mean, it's funny, you're a lawyer and you sue other people and your clients, but I didn't want to get in a lawsuit. So I came up with the Kentucky Hammer and got it trademarked, copyrighted. And, a lot of times people will shorten it for the Hammer, but I don't even know how many years I've been using it, maybe 20 years.
What's the
give or take?
What's the reason to use a nickname? I know my partner, Alex Begum in New Mexico, is a law giant. You're the Hammer.
Yeah.
What's the reason for doing that?
Well, it's branding and marketing opportunities. So, in the world where there's millions, hundreds of thousands, millions of lawyers, you want to stand out, and a name works sometimes. But I think being branded in a certain capacity is very advantageous. So for me, and I'm not just a Hammer, like we got WeWin.com, Call the Hammer. I mean, we have, our name is Isaac, 6 letters, but no one spells it. ISAACS. And just over the years, we've just seen all the mistakes we've made, and you learn from it. But branding opportunities, the Hammer just fit with me.
One thing I've noticed is different about your marketing, because I follow you on social media. I've seen a lot of your ads. You have a lot of creative stuff. But you don't act like the typical, even though you're the Hammer and you do have ads where you're carrying a big old hammer, you don't act like the stereotypical, I'm going to beat them up and make them give you all the money plaintiff's lawyer that you see on a lot of ads. So, you show a lot of your personality.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you the secret sauce. I travel the country. I do presentations. I was waiting on you, and I was talking to some guy, and he started talking to me, and I said, I'll make this easy. What I like to do is be real, authentic, but I like to be the person I am in real life, and I've found if you help others, put others first, and you're not selfish, you'll just get a lot more in return. And so the more I give, the more I teach, and I teach from my mistakes. Every day I make more mistakes than you probably make in a lifetime. So I teach from my mistakes, and just the more I give, the more I get.
And as far as your ads go, I mean, they're I'm trying to think. I don't want to say goofy because I don't want to put you down, but I mean,
Yeah,
you have
no, that-
on your
sometimes
TikTok
they're-
stuff, you go to the store and buy gum or eat a bunch of boiled eggs, and but you still get cases off those.
Well, here's the thing. You're talking about TikTok videos because they're different than some of our like Super Bowl commercials or anything. But early on, I didn't get into TikTok till maybe 3 years ago. And I went out and I got somebody that had like 30 million plus views on some of her ads, or I call them ads, whatever you make on a TikTok. And when I started working with her, she wanted me to do all this crazy stuff, like a dance. I have no rhythm. Wanted me to jump. I can't jump 1 inch, So finally one day I just said, you know what? I'm not going to do all this. If you want to follow me around and see a typical day, fine. If not, don't film me. And almost the first day we did it, we got into a debate about croutons. And I didn't know croutons basically was, burnt toast, dry toast. I didn't know what a crouton was, but I didn't think it was toast. And I mean, one of them got like 3 million views. And so I think real authenticity, all that works. Now, a lot of people do TikTok and they follow the trend, but you've heard the road less traveled. You always got to go where no one is. And I just didn't want to be the person that does what everybody else does.
So tell me the story of how you ended up becoming a lawyer.
So I grew up with a family. My father went back to law school late in life at actually the age 40. And we had a great uncle that was a maritime judge under President Johnson at the time. And I don't know, my dad was getting sworn in. He was 43 or 44. Because I got sworn in with him. We went to the Supreme Court in Frankfort, Kentucky. And I was 11. I was 9 to 11. I can't pinpoint exactly. But they told everybody, raise your right hand. I jumped on a chair, raised my right hand. I took the oath. And I knew that minute I wanted to be a lawyer because he helped everybody and he was my hero. So it was a little challenging getting there.
Tell me about that.
But I just knew I wanted to be a lawyer.
So what were some of the challenges you had to overcome?
I have 3 older brothers and they're all super smart. And I was the black sheep of the family. I was out, hustling, working, selling, servicing, delivering papers, selling donuts. I used to vacuum the hallways. I wasn't a great student in school. And, when I finally, to get in college, and I mean, this isn't embarrassing. This is who I am. I got in the University of Kentucky in 1982. It was the last year before they went to what's called selective admissions. And so the rule was you take the ACT, you put down UK first, graduate from a state high school, they have to take you. And that's how I got in. I would not have got in the year later. And then I graduated, and law school, I didn't get in the first year. And, I took the LSAT 3 times, but first time I took it, I didn't get a 50%.
Wow.
I just had to keep working and working. And so ultimately it was a struggle. But one thing I learned, and it's helped me to this day, the more you fail, the harder you work. When you do succeed, it is so worth it.
Yeah.
So there is no substitute for hard work, but I didn't have the brains and intelligence of like you and so many people. I had to go with my strengths and my gifts. And
well, you've done all right.
Life's been good. I'm very blessed. I've had a lot of people help me.
And so where did you start practicing once you got barred and everything?
Louisville, Kentucky. So it was interesting. During law school, the first week, I cut class to go watch this Fred Dolt, who was an inner circle attorney. I'll never forget this. He tried this slip and fall against Robert Ewald, who was a legend defense attorney in Louisville. And I cut class. I watched the morning session. They broke for lunch. I came back, and the door was locked. And I was asking around, and they said they settled. I was so mad. During law school, I ended up clerking for a famous criminal trial attorney. And, it took me 4 years to get a 3-year degree, but he trained me. I would work year-round, and I got to sit through 22 jury trials, and he gave me the best training in the world. I worked for $4 an hour, but which led me, I didn't want to do criminal law. So when I was working for him, I said, hey, I can get you personal injury cases. I knew how to brand and market, and I got him 300 car wreck cases, which he let me work them during law school.
Oh, wow.
So when I came out, I didn't go with him. I wanted to start my own firm, and that's, I did. I went to my father, and he was semi-retired. I said, I got this idea. I want to borrow your name. We'll be Isaacs and Isaacs. I'll give you half. And I remember to this day, he chuckled, but he was like, okay. And we started a firm. $2 billion later, we've been lucky.
Yeah. And what did you do to start getting cases? You said you knew how to market. How did you know how to market?
Well, when I came out, I went to all the TV lawyers and said, I'll do your litigation, because everybody says they want to do litigation. Well, I mean, I sat through, and even the Supreme Court made an exception. I got sworn in during law school to work on a couple indigent cases where I could go in front of a real jury. But I would market candidly. I came up with a really nice letter that I would write to police report accident victims. And, you might send 100 letters. You might get 5 calls. And if I could get them on the phone, I could sign them up. So I was getting about 100 a year that way.
Oh, wow.
But when I came out, I just had all these law firms were sending me cases. And I did that. But, you do the work, you give half the fee, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I wanted to get my own cases. So I started branding marketing and just word of mouth referrals. Clients, I would always take their calls, do what they needed. I would always suggest of sell. Like when I was a kid, I flipped burgers at Dairy Queen. Well, it was Burger Queen. And they would tell us when you started selling, suggested sell. They order a hamburger, would you like fries with that? They order hamburger fries, would you like a drink? Hamburger fry and drink, would you like a cherry turnover? I would do that with clients. I'd represent them. Hey, do you know family, friends? Could I help them? And I was getting hundreds of cases a year out the bat.
Wow.
So.
And how'd you learn how to work the cases?
Well, that's interesting. I flunked the bar twice. And while I flunked the bar, I went to the courthouse. And back then, they had, everything is filed public. So once it's public, you can copy. In law school, if you cheat, it's plagiarism. After once the attorney files a document, that's research. So there was famous lawyers. Larry Franklin was inner circle. Ann Oldfather was phenomenal. Nick King, who ultimately had bought his building. I went and copied all their files, and I studied it. And then when I'd go to motion hour, I would copy their pleadings, and I would argue. And then ultimately I bought Nick King's building, and he let me have a lot of his files. He was a phenomenal personal injury lawyer. But then I started doing the national circuit, like Joseph Jamel and Russ Herman, and I would go where they'd speak, or Philip Corboy, I'd call them on the phone, they took my call, pepper them with questions, and I bugged anybody that was great, and I just stole all their knowledge. And, I'm not saying I'm great, I'm just saying the great thing about trial lawyers like yourself, you help others, you mentor them, so I'm constantly learning. I've stolen from you. I steal from everybody.
And I'm learning from you, so it goes both ways. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm actually being fairly selfish in this question because it's something I want to implement in my own life. If you're a lawyer that is not really marketing the public and wants to get started trying to market for personal injury cases, where would you start today, 2024?
Well, and I've made it on TV. I would not start on TV. And TV has made me, but TV's audience, 3 years ago, I spent 90% of my budget on TV. Today, it's less than 20%. It keeps going down. The great thing about social media in this world is it levels the playing field. So, but I would start off doing, everybody can do LSAs. Best way to get cases, local service ads. Google, look, they own all the real estate. We just lease the space. But you can, everybody talks about the map pack and to be at the top. And Google's found ways, LSAs is the very top you pay for. And it used to be 3, now it's kind of down to 2. Then pay-per-clicks, which everybody does. But I would do that. And then the other thing I would do, if you're going to do social media, I would go open an account like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Facebook has 3 billion users worldwide. Instagram has 1.5 billion. That's 4.5 billion. But guess what? You can target, like you're in San Antonio. So you could target Facebook just San Antonio. So there's things you could do. But then I like to go to the next level, grassroots marketing. Take your client list. I know you've got thousands. start reaching out to them. You can do that once they're a client.
Yeah.
There's so many things you could do. But word of mouth, I think, is the best. And you can get people to refer, but you want to get your own cases because referrals can dry up depending, someone's referred you and he retires but you got to market yourself.
So how do people, you want to do social media, for example. You don't want to just do the same ad everyone else does that blends
Exactly.
in. How do you find the version of, like you say, you want to be your authentic selves, but you want to be your likable, authentic self. How do you find that? How do you find that voice and how do you tell that story of why someone should hire you?
Okay, great question. I'm going to answer it with an example. Do you ever watch The Voice?
Yeah.
Okay. Recently, because I'm in Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio, and there was a gentleman, a janitor from somewhere in Indiana. He went on. They loved it. He killed it. They did the golden buzzer. He had the greatest story ever. It's not how rich you are, how powerful. It's how vulnerable you are. This guy went up. He'd never been on an airplane. He got up. He was shaking. He was nervous. He was trembling. The whole audience, he doesn't know what he did, but he had the whole audience in the palm of his hand. I'm a big motivational studier, follower, speaker, all that stuff. Zig Ziglar, I've done all that. And I tell people this. In today's world, you can motivate by love or fear. Love gets you everything. Fear is like Hitler and Stalin, and no one wants that. But this guy made you fall in love with him. He didn't dress nice. He didn't have the perfect body. He was just an ordinary person, and we all fell for it. He was amazing, but he could have been half the singer, still would have got the golden buzzer, because everybody wants to help the one, the victim, the one. And so when I tell you, the more you do for others, more you help, you got to be real, authentic, vulnerable. The know-it-alls, and listen, I don't act like an attorney. I don't dress like an attorney. I don't look like an attorney. Now, if I go to court, I'm wearing a suit. Like I'm teaching the next 2 days, I'm wearing a suit. Today I'm in a jersey.
Yeah, those of you listening, he's in a Kentucky football jersey.
Yeah, this is who I am. You have to be who you are. And so every person, and I get this, a lot of times I was out there, one day I was with the gentleman, Jacob, who owns probably one of the, I forgot what his company's called now, but they spend $50, $100 million a year on Facebook advertising on it. And he's like, Darryl, and everybody can be like you. I said, you don't have to be like me. You can be better than me. Every person is unique in this world. And everybody has their own story to tell. You just have to tell your story. I know a lot about you, and I know everything you do and the good and all your great jury verdicts, which would say I study you. But deep down, you're a good guy. You're a good human being. So you have a lot to tell. Everyone has a unique purpose and situation. They just have to find it.
Now you're doing some of that here.
I'm sorry, too, I rambled.
No, you're not rambling. It's great stuff. I'm going to try to apply it. Not just by doing podcasts, but you do a lot to help other lawyers and share the things that have made you successful. Whether it's a mastermind group, whether it's just getting on the phone and talking to people. And it's not for the money, because you'd make more money focusing on your law firm. And you lose money when you do that stuff.
Yeah.
Why do you do it? What drives you?
Well, okay. Listen, I wasn't always like this. I mean, everybody, says you're great. You're giving me great compliments, and I want to thank you. But I was like everybody else. I was rejected. I was made to feel invisible. I flunked the bar. I didn't have a chance to go work for anybody but the criminal attorney. But in 2015, I had a very bad accident. And at that point, I'd represent thousands of people. Brain damage, wrongful death, you name it. I never really connected. I thought I did. I had no idea what the clients were going through. I get hit by a car, break my neck. I wasn't walking for 8 days. And, I was like everybody else. The first 2 days, I was angry. Like, why me, why me, why me? And then epiphany came over, why not me? And then I thought, I'm a personal injury lawyer. Maybe I'm getting a taste of my own medicine. But I had this, and I'll never forget, I had Kathy Law was my office manager. She was watching me in the hospital. My wife had stayed with me 30 days in the hospital, but left for 2 times because, we had kids. And so Kathy would stay. And I looked at her and I said, I just got this epiphany, and I made this deal with God. If you let me walk, I will help everybody do what I do. And I walked 4 or 5 days later.
Wow.
And so since then, I've helped thousands of attorneys. But once I started helping them, it helped me. So it makes me better by helping others.
Well, I do appreciate it. Not only does it inspire you to, share more, and help other lawyers, but how is it, all the injury and the recovery that you've gotten? You're still getting surgeries.
I just had my 12th.
You're 12?
12th
Wow.
in June. This past June.
All the stuff you showed me at X-ray of your spine. It's pretty gnarly. But how has that affected your ability to be a better personal injury lawyer for your clients?
Well, I know what they're going through. One of the injuries I had is I had the hangman's fracture. So they hang you, they break your C2 or snap it or fracture it. But I had also, my C1 was crumbled. So head and neck came out of line of my spine. And I had this amazing result. I should have been dead or paraplegic or quadriplegic. But what the doctors told me, I had like 30 in my room the first 3 days, and I was in and out of it. But my wife was telling me all these stories. And they determined my head and neck came out of a line at the seam, and my spinal cord moved out of the way when I had that. It's an act of God, but my first 3 months, I was in a neck brace. I thought I was living the rest of my life in a neck brace. But I can remember the first day I went back to my office, a lady called, her daughter broke her neck, and she saw my story, and she called and she wanted us to represent her, but all I wanted to do was talk about, I know what she's going through, and I was answering questions. It just made me more in touch with the plaintiffs. And even now, you have to be careful because, look, I can represent someone that's had 1 or 2 surgeries. I've had 12. It's not about me. Because I don't want to tell them and they go, well, God, mine's nothing like yours. Each case is unique and different, and everybody's pain is real to that person. So I got to be careful that I don't over talk about mine, and I want to listen. We've been to the ranch, and listening is the most important thing out there. But it's really allowed me to get in touch with what they're going through.
Yeah, that sounds right. You mentioned you went to the ranch. That's the Jerry Spence Trial Institute at Thunderhead Ranch.
Yes.
I was blessed enough to go there a long time ago.
And I'm older than you.
Yeah, but it's a wonderful place. I'm hoping to get back when I don't have a kid at home anymore. Just travel so much I can't justify spending any more time away from my one son that's left at home.
Each year, the law firm of Cowen Rodriguez Peacock pays millions of dollars in co-counsel fees to attorneys nationwide on trucking and commercial vehicle cases. If you have an injury case involving death or catastrophic injuries and would like to partner with our firm, please contact us by calling 210-941-1301 to discuss the case in detail and see where we can add value in a partnership. And now, back to the show.
A lot of people that build up a firm like yours, you got over 100 employees, the money's coming in, the cases are coming in, become more managers. You don't see them trying a lot of cases themselves, because it's hard to be running a big business, taking care of all that parts, marketing and trying cases yourself. What made you want to go to the Jerry Spence Trial Institute up in Wyoming and spend a month, 3 weeks working on your trial skills?
Well, Rex Paris.
Okay.
So it was interesting. I'd wanted to go for 20 plus years. I didn't think I was good enough. And there were times where I'd fill the application, but I didn't have the guts to send it.
Wow.
I just thought, I had the imposter syndrome. Everybody looked at me and I was this, alleged great yada, yada, yada. But deep down, I always thought I'm not as good as the next person. And the fear made me work harder and harder and harder. Some days I work 18 hours a day, not consistent, but, with technology, I can travel around the world and still work. But I guess right after COVID, Rex reached out and wanted my help in doing some marketing and branding, and I couldn't believe he's calling me.
Yeah.
So, of course, I did it, and then I'm like, okay, I'll do you a favor, but you got to do me a favor. You got to let some of my attorneys try cases. And then he's like, I started meeting him, and he's like, Darryl, why aren't you trying cases? And I used to try them all the time 30 plus years ago. But I didn't want to compete with my lawyers, so I let the lawyers work for me. And I don't know, Rex is like, you need to be the one. You got the alleged celebrity status. I don't know if I agree with that. But he literally said, come out there, I'll even train you. And he started training me, and I got to try a case with him. And the more I learned, I realized Jerry Spencer's method just sounded great for me. And I went, and I've told the story. I literally was driving to meet behind the bus, because you get on the bus or you follow it to go up. And I'm driving in at the airport, and I thought, I got to turn around. I'm just not good enough. But I thought, why am I quitting? I've never quit anything. And I went, and it was like 3 weeks of, having kids, getting married, do all that stuff's greatest day of your life. But literally going out there for 3 weeks it changed my life. And since then, I've been out there, I've done 3 times now. You go 3 week, and then you can go the grads a week. But just getting with other great lawyers, and then they're teaching you, and it makes you better.
So you getting back in the courtroom now?
Yes. I'm excited. Had a couple settle, but like this year coming up, I got 2 that I think will go. But yeah, we, our firm tries maybe 5 to 10 cases a year. I'd like to try about 30, our firm. So I just thought it's got to lead by example and jump back in.
And how are you managing the time between, doing the stuff you need to do for the marketing, making sure the firm runs right and everyone's doing their job, and then getting involved in cases and trying them yourself, and then fourth, having a life?
Well, not well, but so listen, when I came out of law school, my first 5 years, I took 1 vacation. I worked 7 days a week. I don't recommend that for anybody. Over the years, I've had doctors say you're going to die if you don't. But on a typical day, I might work anywhere from 12 to 18 hours, not constant. But again, it's what I love to do. Now, I have people that run the firm, and I'm trying to just do litigation. But being the owner and the face of the firm, I have to be visible. And I found I can do the marketing and branding when I'm helping others. So, here, I run into, Brian Payne or some of my favorite lawyers that I've learned from. Well, I'm taking pictures, and then I post it. And then, so you can brand, you can market. And also after my accident, the doctor made me, because I have a brain injury too. And my doctor said, you can't do everything you used to do. So now I delegate. I got like a full-time executive assistant, and, she's remote. She keeps me in line. You just need people to help you. I couldn't do it all, but at the same time, I got a lot of coaches. I got people to help me. And so.
How do you think you basically are a celebrity, at least in Kentucky and Indiana? People know who the Hammer is. You've got, you've been on TV forever. You got billboards all over the place. How do you think that affects you when you're going to try a case to a jury?
Well, I was scared to death first it was going to hurt me, because over the years we've had attorneys go in, and it's funny because before my accident, I just assumed the public hated me. And after my accident, I was in a hospital a month. I got like 4,000 cards from people I didn't know. We're praying for you, Hammer. We love you. We miss you. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going on? But since then, if I'm not there at the trial, we've had attorneys, the defense attorney, one trial in particular just stands out. They just bashed me over and over and over. And the jury, we had a 1-day trial. The judge everybody was against us. And the jury gave our attorneys every penny they asked. The people were mad. They smashed me and slandered me. But all that aside, right now I can do these focus groups, and I brought this out, and people are just really welcoming. I don't consider myself a celebrity, but once they see me doing part of the trial or the focus group or something, and I don't even talk about it, I just go in, I'm one of them. And so when they realize I'm a real person, it doesn't matter I've been on the billboards or all that.
I think a lot of it may be your messaging. You're authentic,
right.
You're a nice person. I think if you were playing a character that wasn't as nice,
yes.
It may have been more of a factor. But I think just people feel, I even get that sometimes from podcast listeners. Like, you meet them, like, I feel like I already know you.
Yes.
And I think people probably feel like they already know you, and they already have a positive. It's actually a positive, because I always worried that it would be negative in the past, and I don't think it's that way anymore if you have the right, authentic message.
Well, there's a phenomenal trial attorney named Gary Johnson in my state.
Yeah.
And moons ago, he got the biggest verdict still, I think, Kentucky got $275 million verdict, and he's on back covers. We used to fight on who'd get the back cover of the phone book because I was on about 40. And Gary's a friend of mine, great trial lawyer, and he teaches. But man, admittingly, he'll tell you, he looks like a used car salesman, doesn't wear a suit, wears a sport coat, but he's so real, authentic. And he did what I would do, I'm ready. He's like, hey, I want to make a living. I can go out and work just like everybody else. And he helps people. And I think what we find, think of yourself, if you had a choice between helping two people, and one is arrogant, thinks they know it all, and another is shaken, nervous, and just appreciative of your time, which one are you going to help?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I do now. I mean, Rex Parrish always said he's the kindest person in the room, and I used to say that, but when I'm with Rex, he is kinder than me. It pisses me off. But people love people that are kind and help people, and that's what I want to do. And, it's not an ass-kissing. You got to be genuine. I was telling someone while I was waiting to find out where we were going to be, I'm just as comfortable hanging out with the janitor than I am with the CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, my grandfather used to say, God loved the common man and woman because he made so many. So I just treat everybody like I want to be treated, and everybody, for the most part, common people.
If somebody wants to learn more from you, the things that you're teaching, I know you help teach other lawyers how to market instead of, even though you probably have the money and the ability just to go into the market, take their cases, you actually, are sharing your knowledge. How can people learn from you and work with you?
Well, I give everybody my cell number. I've probably given it 100,000. I'll give it now. My cell is 502-817-1000. I always tell people 8 minus 1 is 7, 1000. And then our web is, my email is, our website's wewin.com. But it's Darryl at wewin.com and Darryl. And they can just reach out, text, call. I'm on a plane a lot. I'm traveling like today. It was David Clark's room for 3 hours, soaking up every word he said. Got 30 texts. I wasn't about to look at that. I just want to listen to him. But I always get back with people. It just sometimes takes me time.
Yeah, and I can attest, you do get back. So, and, Darryl, I've really enjoyed becoming your friend and getting to know you over the last couple of years. And thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm not done stealing knowledge from you.
Well, good.
Thank you for joining us on Trial Lawyer Nation. I hope you enjoyed our show. If you'd like to receive updates, insider information, and more from Trial Lawyer Nation, sign up for our mailing list at triallawyernation.com. You can also visit our episodes page on the website for show notes and direct links to any resources in this or any past episode. To help more attorneys find our podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast on any of our social media outlets. If you'd like access to exclusive, plaintiff lawyer-only content and live monthly discussions with me, send a request to join the Trial Lawyer Nation Insider Circle Facebook group. Thanks again for tuning in. I look forward to having you with us next time on Trial Lawyer Nation.
Each year, the law firm of Cowen Rodriguez Peacock pays millions of dollars in co-counsel fees to attorneys nationwide on trucking and commercial vehicle cases. If you have an injury case involving death or catastrophic injuries and would like to partner with our firm, please contact us by calling 210-941-1301 to discuss the case in detail and see where we can add value in a partnership. This podcast has been hosted by Michael Cowen and is not intended to, nor does it create the attorney-client privilege between our host, guest, and any listener for any reason. Content from the podcast is not to be interpreted as legal advice. All thoughts and opinions expressed herein are only those from which they came.